Marcus leaned back in the conference chair like he owned the place. Victoria stood beside him with a polished smile as she clicked to the final slide. My final slide. My stomach dropped while applause echoed through the room. They were presenting my system as if they built it. I felt myself going cold, gripping the underside of the table so hard my knuckles burned. And then the VP said it. Marcus, Victoria, this is brilliant. This could change our entire operations workflow. Victoria bowed her head slightly. Thank you, we worked very hard. We. My name wasn't spoken once, not even accidentally. That's when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a betrayal. My throat was tight as he talked. I barely heard the rest, just the blood rushing in my ears. I'd always believed if you worked hard, you got noticed. Turns out all you got noticed for was being easy to steal from. My name is Elise Turner, operations analyst. Quiet, thorough, the kind of person people relied on. Until it was convenient to forget me. 3 months earlier, Marcus had been clueless about half the processes he was hired to manage. I helped him, step by step. Victoria had been friendly at first, until she realized I didn't play office politics the way she did. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. After the presentation ended, I walked to the bathroom on shaking legs. I stared at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked pale, shocked. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to breathe. They stole my project. They erased my name. They stood up there and lied to everyone. My phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. Great presentation today. Thanks for being such a team player. I stared at the message. My chest tightened. I could confront her. I could confront both of them. But something inside me shifted. No, I whispered to myself. I was done giving them weapons to use against me. The next morning, Marcus called me to his desk, whispering urgently, Elise, can you walk me through the automation flow again? I keep mixing up step 6 and step 9. He didn't even know the order. They stole a project they couldn't operate. I kept a neutral face. Of course. Step 6 leads to step 9 only if the user input routes correctly. He nodded like he understood. He didn't. Later, Victoria cornered me in the break room. Elise, I need you to triple-check the numbers before the board review. It has to be perfect. My career's riding on this. Her career, not mine. I stirred my tea slowly. Of course. That night I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. I couldn't sleep. The word irrelevant echoed in my skull. I remembered Victoria saying it weeks ago to someone on the phone. Elise is irrelevant to this conversation. I realized something then. If I exploded now, I lost. If I stayed quiet and smart, I won. I began watching them. How Victoria panicked when numbers didn't line up. How Marcus copied notes from my old emails. How they avoided technical questions in meetings. They thought they were safe because I was quiet. Quiet wasn't weak. Quiet was calculating. I started going through my files systematically. Every email I'd sent about the project. Every draft I'd created. Every timestamp showing when I'd built each component. I backed everything up to 3 separate locations, my personal drive, an external hard drive, and a secure cloud account. Their digital erasing meant nothing. I had proof, dates, metadata, version histories. Everything showed I was the creator. I organized it all into folders, labeled clearly. I wasn't planning an attack. I was building a fortress of truth. And when the time came, that fortress would stand unshakable while their lies crumbled around them. Over the next 2 weeks, I subtly stopped correcting their mistakes. I let their misplaced confidence inflate. When they asked questions, I answered vaguely. When they asked for files, I accidentally sent draft versions instead of final ones, all harmless, all reversible, all exposing their lack of understanding. In one meeting, Victoria's voice trembled. I thought the efficiency change was 18%, no? Or was it? Elise, what was the final number again? I tilted my head. The final number has been in the shared drive for weeks. She flushed. She hadn't read it. I watched Marcus take notes furiously, trying to catch up to a project he should have already known. Behind closed doors, Marcus hissed at me one afternoon. Elise, we need you to basically run the presentation for us. Ah, there it was. Desperation. I gave a calm smile. I'm happy to support however I can. Their relief was immediate. They didn't know what support looked like yet. Victoria grabbed my arm. You're a lifesaver, seriously. We'll make sure you get credit. I almost laughed. Credit? Now they wanted to give me credit after they'd already stolen everything. But I just nodded. I appreciate that. I didn't believe her for a second, but I needed them to believe I did. I spent the next week organizing everything meticulously. Their errors, their contradictions, their fake progress updates, and my entire audit trail, all neat, all factual, all ready. Not to attack them, but to let the truth reveal itself. I created a simple folder structure. One folder showed the original project timeline with my name on every document. Another showed the emails where I'd explained concepts to Marcus. A third showed Victoria's requests for my work. Everything was dated. Everything was verified. I wasn't building a weapon. I was building a mirror. And soon they'd have to look into it. The week before the board review, Marcus and Victoria grew increasingly anxious. They called emergency meetings. They asked me to explain things repeatedly. Victoria snapped at an intern who asked a basic question. Marcus spilled coffee on his keyboard. I watched it all with a strange calm. They were unraveling. I stayed steady. In our final prep meeting, Marcus said, Elise, maybe you should present the technical section. I shook my head. You two are the project leads. You should present everything. I'm here if you need backup. Victoria looked relieved. She shouldn't have been. I was giving them enough rope to hang themselves. The night before the board review, I couldn't sleep. I kept running through scenarios. What if they somehow pulled it off? What if the board didn't ask hard questions? What if I was wrong to wait? But then I remembered something my father once told me. The truth is patient. It doesn't need you to force it. It just needs you to give it space to breathe. I took a deep breath. I'd given the truth plenty of space. Tomorrow it would breathe. I laid out my clothes. I prepared my notes. I organized my backup files on my laptop. Everything was ready. I just had to trust the process. The boardroom felt colder than usual. Victoria was pale, fidgeting with her pen. Marcus kept clearing his throat. The board members filed in, 7 executives, including our CEO, our VP of Operations, and several directors I'd never met. Marcus started the presentation. Within 3 slides, he stumbled. So the baseline data was collected from various sources and, analysed using our proprietary method. A board member interrupted. What data was used for your baseline? Victoria froze. Marcus sweated. I sat quietly, watching. This was the moment. Everything I'd prepared for, everything they'd failed to prepare for, the room felt like it was holding its breath. Marcus looked at Victoria. Victoria looked at Marcus. Neither spoke. The board member leaned forward. I'm asking a simple question. What was your baseline data? Victoria cleared her throat. Well, it was comprehensive data from our operational systems, analysed through... Which systems specifically? Another board member asked. Silence. Thick. Uncomfortable. The VP turned to me. Elise, you worked on this project too, correct? I nodded. Yes, I did. Can you answer the question? I spoke softly. Of course. The baseline data was compiled on March 4th by me. All supporting documentation is in the shared drive under Foundational Calculations. The board member pulled out his tablet. You compiled it. Marcus's jaw tightened. Victoria's eyes widened. I continued calmly. Yes. The baseline included 3 years of operational data from our warehouse management system, our inventory tracking platform, and our customer service logs. I cross-referenced approximately 42,000 data points to establish patterns. The room had shifted. Board members were looking at their tablets now, pulling up files. One director asked, Marcus, Victoria, why couldn't you answer that? Marcus stammered. Well, it was collaborative. Elise handled the data side while we managed the strategic vision. I didn't contradict him. I didn't need to. The board members were already scrolling through the files, seeing my name on every document. The CEO spoke for the first time. Let me understand this. Elise compiled the data, built the models, and created the documentation. What exactly did you two do? Victoria spoke too quickly. We managed the project timeline, coordinated with stakeholders, and ensured quality control. A director frowned. Then why can't you explain how the system actually works? Silence. Thick. Humiliating. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Another board member asked, Elise, can you walk us through the automation process? I stood and moved to the screen. I explained the system fluently, clearly. Every step, every rationale, every model, the room was completely focused on me now. I showed them how the automation reduced manual data entry by 73%, how it flagged errors before they became problems, how it integrated with our existing systems seamlessly. I answered every technical question. I explained every decision. Board members nodded, taking notes. When I finished, one director said, "This is exceptional work." He looked at Marcus and Victoria. "Why did you present this as if you'd built it yourselves?" Marcus tried to recover. "We never said we built it alone. It was a team effort." The CEO pulled out her phone. "Then explain these emails." She turned her screen around, my breath caught. The CEO had found the email chain, the one where Victoria told Marcus, "Let's not include Elise's name on the final presentation. It'll be cleaner with just us as the leads." The one where Marcus replied, "Agreed. We can always say it was collaborative if anyone asks." The ones I'd forwarded to my personal email weeks ago just in case, but I hadn't sent them to the CEO. Someone else must have. The VP of Operations cleared his throat. "I forwarded those to you this morning. I found them during a routine audit of project communications." Victoria went white. Marcus looked like he might be sick. The CEO's expression was ice cold. "Let me be very clear," the CEO said. "This company does not tolerate credit theft. Elise, did you know they were presenting your work as their own?" I chose my words carefully. I led the project. I shared drafts with the team. I provided training. I supported implementation. But I didn't know they were presenting it as their own until the initial presentation 3 weeks ago. No anger, no accusation, just truth. The room reacted louder than any outburst could have. Directors whispered to each other. The VP shook his head. One board member closed her laptop with a sharp snap. Marcus and Victoria sat frozen, exposed completely. The CEO stood. "Marcus, Victoria, please wait outside. The board needs to discuss this privately." They left without a word. I started to follow, but the CEO gestured for me to stay. "Elise, sit down." My heart pounded. For a moment I worried I'd done something wrong. But then the CEO smiled, a real smile. "You handled this with remarkable professionalism. Why didn't you say something sooner?" I met her eyes. I believed the quality of my work would speak for itself. She nodded slowly, respectfully. The VP added, "You could have caused a scene, made accusations, but you documented everything and let the truth emerge naturally. That takes discipline." The board spent 20 minutes discussing next steps. They asked me detailed questions about the project scope, my role, and my capabilities. They asked about my career goals. They asked if I had other ideas for operational improvements. I answered honestly, professionally. When the meeting ended, the CEO walked me to the door. "Elise, expect a call from HR tomorrow. We have some things to discuss." I nodded, not sure what to expect. That evening, I sat in my apartment processing everything. Marcus and Victoria had been exposed, but what happened next? I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, my phone rang. It was the HR director. "Elise, can you come to my office at 10? She sounded warm, not stern. I arrived early, nervous. The HR director sat across from me with a soft smile. "Elise, the board was deeply impressed with your composure. They want you to lead the entire operations optimization initiative." My breath caught. A role above anything Marcus or Victoria had been offered. She slid a document across the desk. "This is a formal advancement plan. New title, significant raise, and a direct reporting line to the VP of Operations. We need people who can execute, not just take credit. I read through the offer, my hands trembling slightly. This was real. That afternoon, I had a one-on-one meeting with the CEO. She thanked me for my professionalism, for my leadership, for trusting the process rather than reacting emotionally. Then she said something that made my eyes sting with tears. I need people like you at the top. Let's talk long-term growth. She laid out a mentorship track, a pathway into upper management, opportunities to lead major initiatives. The biggest twist, my project didn't just expose them, it elevated me. I walked out of her office in a daze. Everything had changed, not because I'd fought dirty, but because I'd let the truth do the fighting for me. Weeks passed. Marcus and Victoria were removed from the project immediately. Their promotions were paused indefinitely. Their performance was under investigation. I heard through the office grapevine that they'd been reassigned to minor roles in different departments, not fired, but humiliated. Not by me, by their own arrogance. I moved into my new office, a real office with a door and a window. My name was on the door in clean professional letters. People greeted me differently now, with respect, not fear, not pity. Respect. I built a team of talented analysts who actually wanted to collaborate. We launched 2 more optimization projects within a month. One morning, I saw Victoria in the elevator. She looked at the floor, avoiding eye contact. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Marcus I saw once in the cafeteria. He left immediately when he spotted me. Their reputations never recovered. They'd lost everything because they built success on lies. I didn't destroy them. I just told the truth. And the truth did exactly what it needed to. I learned something powerful through this experience. When you know your worth, you don't have to fight dirty. You don't have to scream or make scenes. You just have to let the right people see you. Document your work. Stay professional. Trust that quality speaks louder than politics. 6 months later, I stood in front of the same boardroom presenting my 3rd major project. This time, my name was on every slide. This time, the applause was for work everyone knew was mine. The CEO pulled me aside afterward. You've exceeded every expectation, Elise. I'm putting you on the succession planning track. I walked to my car that evening, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not the arrogant kind that Marcus and Victoria had. The quiet kind that comes from knowing you earned every bit of your success. I thrived, I rose, I walked away with dignity, and I would do it all the same way again.